Good morning! Today I thought we would get a start on a simple ruffled blouse because it is getting the warm weather season and I'm tired of having shirts that are too short in the sleeve and generally worn out. I first drafted a pattern or a cutting diagram for a chemise, but I think maybe a shirt would be more versatile. So I dropped that and went for a much simpler cutting diagram where, ironically, if I make the body a little bit poofier than intended, I can just cut 4 equal squares and have front, back and 2 sleeves. Poofy sleeves, nice poofy sleeves. Although I don't actually have to cut this line because I could just leave the shoulder seam as is. And I wanted to add some ruffles, so down here we have the cuffs and the collar, placket for the front opening. I have some very cute little mother of pearl buttons that I want to use, and lots of ruffles. I want to do some like 1 centimeter wide but folded double ruffles. So I'm going to use about 3 times as much material for the ruffles as for the cuffs and collar. And then just 2 small gussets under the sleeve. I am a bit curious about how this will end up because it is such a simple pattern. So let's get started on drawing some thread. If you are new to the historical practice of drawing thread, it is exactly what it sounds like. Some fabrics, like linen, like to slide around and defy efforts to cut it straight, so the pre-cutting step of quite literally drawing out a single thread from the weave of the fabric is one way to assure a nice crisp line. This gives you, with some effort and a contrasting background, a straight line you can cut along and rewards us with perfectly straight cut pieces for our garment. You can either use a needle to pull out your thread at tidy intervals, or quite literally grab the thread and try to pull it clean out. I can't say I've noticed a significant difference between the two. The needle method might seem tedious, but my experience is that no matter how carefully you pull, the thread will snap, forcing you to spend time looking for it and pulling it out again. With all our pieces cut out, we can continue on to cutting a hole for our neckline, at the center of which we pull another thread for our shirt opening. While we are here, it seems an opportune moment to just get both plackets done for the front as well. Speaking of plackets, I've noticed on modern shirts that the little cuff placket is often not at the sleeve seam itself, but a little bit off to the side. Maybe because people find it easier to stitch a placket to a flat piece of fabric? I thought I would give that a go, and the leftover fabric strip after doing the front plackets are the perfect length. We really don't need much to get our hands through. It is not every day I do all plackets first thing, but you know what? I'm into it. Finishing all the finicky bits on each piece before assembly is really growing on me, so let's continue with the rest of the sleeve. Starting with our gusset friend, which is attached to one side at the top of the sleeve, and the side directly next to it is attached to the other side. With that done, we can just raise all the way down to the bottom of our sleeve without a care in the world, since the aforementioned plackets have already been dealt with elsewhere. Novel. Next, I fell down the seam allowance to one side, on the machine for once, just to see if I could. It worked just fine, but it did get a bit awkward towards the end to finagle the entire sleeve around my presser foot. Finally, we get to what is arguably the whole reason I wanted to do this shirt, and that is the ruffles. I wanted crisp, very geometric ruffles, so instead of hemming one side and pleating the other, I folded my pleating fabric twice and hid both seam allowances inside one side of the cuff. Everything is then stitched ever so slowly. Before we overlay the other side of the cuff and sandwich our beautiful pleats in the middle. The most important bit on this second run is to not stitch into the ruffles at all, as we will not be able to turn it out properly if we do. This might just be my most favorite detail to date. I really don't mind repeating the whole process for the other cuff and collar as well. Now we get to the gathering, and between the cuffs, collar and sleeve, we have a fair bit of gathering ahead of us, so we best get started. Especially since I wanted a neat result and opted for double gathering threads and Victorian gathering ideals, that is picking up 2 threads for every 4 we pass over. I don't always manage this precisely, but I do try to stay in the area. To attach my cuff, I divide my sleeve and cuff into 4 equal parts. This helps divide the gathers evenly all around, although I'm not sure I needed to. With the sleeve almost 4 times as wide as the cuff, I had to gather it so tightly that there really wasn't much leeway left anyway. When stitching this monstrosity together, I am placing my needle in between my 2 gathering threads and going, as you can see, nice and slow. Before turning our cuff around and folding in the seam allowance, allowing us a lovely hand stitching respite with some tidy hemming stitches. I try to catch each gather as I go to help keep them secure. One day I really need to do some cartridge pleats and smocking. Between ruffles and our ridiculous gathers, we now have a fairly thick cuff, something I am opting to control, as much as it can be controlled, with a round of top stitching along the edge. I hope you weren't expecting me to draw from a single time period with this piece, because it's for my regular wardrobe and I'm feeling chaotic. Next up, we are addressing the collar. On some extant shirts, there is a little reinforcement patch just where the fabric turns back around, which seemed fun to try. It also served as a nice reminder when running my gathering thread to not gather on top of the shoulders. Rinse and repeat the attachment step, Although, for some reason, I'm sewing from the color side, not from the gathering side. Don't do that when you have painstakingly done 2 gathering threads and stroked them to be as even as possible. It will leave all your hard work for naught. But still, a color was attached. And we are almost there with the gathering. To finish up, we are stitching up the side seams so we get a nice measurable armhole to gather our sleeve into. I am aiming for a finished sleeve where the lower half, including the gusset, is not gathered, but the top half is. Also, if you were wondering, I do not throw away all that gathering thread we are left with at the end when our fabric is actually, gathered. I tie off the ends to keep my gathers secure, and then the long ends are great for sewing down seam allowances or anything else you might fancy. I was able to attach most of our sleeve friend by machine, but that little section at the bottom where our gusset meets the front and back panel, I will admit I defaulted to hand stitching. It is just so much easier to get all 3 lines to meet up when you don't have to wrestle with the machine as well. For the seam allowances, I have left the body longer than the gathers so that I can fold them over top. I hope you can see what I'm doing here, but what I'm trying to do here is not to fell down the seam allowance flat like I have done everywhere else. This would make my gathers sit weirdly on the right side. Instead, I am stitching my seam allowance down on top of the seam allowance itself, making it invisible from the outside, if that makes any sense. But the side seam has to be content with being fell down in the regular way. And now there's only the bottom hem left before we get to the closures. We really are in the last stretch now. 1 buttonhole and button are affixed to either cuff. And 7 buttons for luck down the center front. And there you have it, one ridiculously over-the-top poofy wonder with which to boldly engage the summer sun. Or, quietly read a book in the shade. I know we are often told to wear less when the weather gets hot, but I am continuously amazed by just how well linen and other natural fibers help regulate temperature, both in hot and cold weather. My favorite is still the ruffles. Can you blame me? Next up, turning up the time machine a fair bit and just maybe a visit to the biggest event of its kind. And just a friendly reminder, Patrons get access before everyone else, if that is of interest to you. Else, I wish you fair winds wherever your internet adventure takes you next.